What's good, YouTube? It's the Casual Gamer here, back again with another video. My apologies if I sound a little congested. Allergy season is here, but work still got to get done. So yes, what are we getting into today? The topic of today's video is why I stopped playing Call of Duty. Yes, we are getting into the nitty gritty today. We are going to literally start at Call of Duty 4 and track the ups and downs of this franchise. Then we're going to talk about how I, like many other players, got to the point of having to step away from the title that brought us so much joy for years. So this is going to be a longer video. I hope you guys enjoy. Be sure to hit that like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. But let's get into this. So Call of Duty 4, the first original Modern Warfare, came out in 2007. Dog, that is almost, 20 years ago? I'm old, bro. It's a real history lesson for you young gamers out there. I hope you guys actually listen because it's really for you guys, because you guys are the ones who deserve better. But you'll understand what I mean by that later on in the video. Alright, let's talk about Call of Duty 4. I actually didn't even get to experience this game when it launched in 2007. I didn't play it till around like 2009 maybe. I want to say in 2007, I was probably 10 or 11 years old. I was probably still playing Star Wars Battlefront, still on PS2. Definitely, we didn't even have a PS3 yet. That's crazy. Yeah, definitely didn't have a next-gen system at that time because I remember playing NBA 2K7 and NBA 2K8 still on PS2. So yeah, while I did not get to experience this game in real time, I did have a chance to go back and play it by 2008/2009. This game was so good that a lot of the players stayed on it even when the 5th Call of Duty came out. That Call of Duty was World at War. We're going to be talking about that next. But Call of Duty 4 revolutionized first-person shooters forever pretty much, setting pretty high expectations for anything that the franchise did moving forward. This was the first game that they introduced the prestige system, giving players something to actually grind for while playing casually. I want to say it was 55 levels and 10 prestiges. Another thing that this game introduced was a variety of weapons to choose from, and you had a chance to grind to get camos for these weapons. Just another thing in there that just kept players on the game, giving people something to play for. You see them start to introduce this heavy in this game. Let's not forget, this is also the first year kill streaks were introduced. Back when a UAV was only 3 kills. Let me not get angry yet because it's still early in the video. I get triggered when I talk about certain stuff when it comes to Call of Duty. But yes, a simple, what was it, a 3-5-7 system? It was something like that. 3 kills for a UAV, I think 5 kills for an airstrike, and then 7 kills, maybe 8 or 9. It might have been 9 in Call of Duty 4 for that attack helicopter. Another thing that made this game great and flow well was the matchmaking system. Ping-based, connection-based matchmaking. And then once you're in the lobby, they balance the teams based off of levels. That is how it should always be. Again, I am not going to get angry this early in the video talking about matchmaking. We'll leave that for later. But little things like that made the game, like with everything that they added inside the game, because all of the stuff I just named is still a version of it inside of Call of Duty now. But why does Call of Duty not flow the same now? It's because of the matchmaking. But we'll get to that later. Call of Duty 4, certified classic, made by Infinity Ward. What made this game so great also, I heard it was made by like a very small team of devs. Like it was kind of like a perfect accident. Like they did not think that the game was going to take off the way that it did. But in hindsight, you see why it did. A lot of us consider this game the birth of the franchise. I promise you, if you haven't got a chance, if you're a Call of Duty player now and you haven't got a chance to revisit these games, I highly suggest going to revisit this one first, even if it's just to play the campaign mode. Alright, on to the next game, and this one holds a very special place in my heart. This is the very first Call of Duty that I had, the very first one that I owned, my first real multiplayer experience on a first-person shooter game. That is Call of Duty 5 World at War. In this game, Treyarch makes his debut under the format created by Infinity Ward with Call of Duty 4, bringing the concepts of prestige and kill streaks and all that other stuff into the World War II setting. But yes, this was the first Call of Duty game that I ever owned. Holds a very special place in my heart. I think I was 12 years old when I got this. I had to be because I was in 6th grade, because I remember by Modern Warfare 2, I was already in middle school when that came out. Now, this game was not perfect. I will say that. To me it was, because it was my first Call of Duty game. I didn't know anything about Call of Duty 4, the previous one really, besides playing it at friends' houses. That's the only time I got a chance to play the previous one. But for the players at that time, the ones who were really getting it in, I know that a lot of them ended up staying on Call of Duty 4 because the game was just that great. But in the grand scheme, that was just a small chunk of players. Call of Duty World at War still made its mark as a legendary game because it was the first year that they introduced zombies. You can say what you want about Call of Duty World at War's multiplayer, but one thing you will not hear people talking bad about, especially at that time, was the zombies. While the multiplayer was fun as hell for me at that time because it was really just my first game, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know about prestige systems. I'm over here like, how does he have a colored clan tag? I didn't know anything. So you put anything in front of me at that time, it's going to be fun. What really makes this game legendary was the introduction to the phenomenon we know now as zombies. Treyarch officially made their mark. Alright, let's get into the next game. The original. I hate that I have to say the original now because they completely ruined the Modern Warfare franchise with these terrible games. But the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, 2009. Arguably the greatest multiplayer experience in Call of Duty history. Emphasis on the word arguably, because honestly, the nostalgia in me wants to say it is the greatest, but the gamer in me knows that Black Ops 2 was really top tier. I think Black Ops 2 is really the greatest Call of Duty of all time. But we could talk about that later. Right now, let's focus on this gem, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Now keep in mind, bro, Infinity Ward, they just revolutionized first-person shooters forever, literally 2 years before this in 2007. Already in 2009, they somehow outdo themselves. This may have been the most fun time in gaming in history. I'm going to just say it. You had to be there to really understand the hype of this game. I swear, it felt like Modern Warfare 2 was out for 2 whole years, bro. Like, that's just how much people played this game. Now, what made this game revolutionary? So, what's the first thing? This game introduced kill streaks, but instead of having them preset like they were in the previous 2 games, they gave us 15 options to choose from. This game introduced controlled air support kill streaks with the chopper gunner and AC-130, and of course, they also introduced the tactical nuke. So many reasons, so many little things that made this game legendary, like the moving titles and emblems, grinding for titles and emblems that you wanted. The game introduced more weapons than the franchise had ever seen at one time. But overall, what made this game so great was the community. I promise there was nothing better than a 2009 Modern Warfare 2 Search and Destroy lobby where everybody has their mics. Nothing compares. Before game chat was all censored like it is now, I don't understand. The game is rated M. If people want to talk some trash, let them talk some trash. But hey, that's something else we'll talk about later. And you can't forget, this is also the game where the sniping community takes off. This is where clans take off. This is where everything takes off. A lot of clans that you see nowadays that are big, you don't even see them. Like, they don't come to fruition without this game. But yeah, this is where the sniping community takes off. Everybody fell in love with this game. The mechanics, the visual appeal, everything about it. Quickscoping became a phenomenon to the point you would even hear people referencing it in real life. Sniping was a big deal on Call of Duty 4, but the introduction of Sleight of Hand Pro, the perk that increased the speed in which you aim down your weapon, brought sniping to a whole different level on this game. Like I said, this is where clans like FaZe and many others were born once trick shotting became the next evolution to quickscoping. Like, you see why I say it felt like this game was out for 2 years, though, because so much stuff happened on this game within a short amount of time. Sniping and quickscoping became popular. People slowly started to do 360s, 720s, add a little twist to it. Next thing you know, full-blown trick shotting is born. Honestly, my theory on why sniping became so popular on this game was because people were so locked in. Like, once you get 10th prestige, it wasn't anything else you could do after that. So I feel like a lot of people, all the sweats just resorted to sniping, and then sniping just became this bigger than life thing. We used to literally be in private lobbies, 10 to 20 people deep, sometimes watching 2 people just play 1v1, heckling, talking shit. There was just so much to do on this game because you can't forget I'm talking a lot about sniping, but the actual gameplay itself, just the regular weapons, like, there was so much to do. You'll never catch yourself bored on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Something else these 3 games that I've talked about so far do have in common is that ping-based matchmaking that I mentioned with Call of Duty 4. It's very important, so I just wanted to pop in real quick and mention that. Alright, but anyways, while I do consider this the golden age of Call of Duty, this game specifically, I'm not going to act like it didn't have flaws. People exploiting the game with hacks and glitches, things like noob tubing and one-man army, like, I'm not gonna lie, it used to get pretty bad on there. I actually have a theory that's why a lot of us gravitated to Search and Destroy during that time, because Not gonna lie, there were still trolls in Search and Destroy, of course, but you were less likely to run into something like a 6-stack all using one-man army in noob tubing, like you might run into a lot in Team Deathmatch or Domination at that time. It will happen, but hey, we still found a way to have fun with the game. Like I said, there was so much to do in this game. Do the kids now even go into private lobbies and play games like Michael Myers? Is that still even a thing? Are private lobbies still even a thing? Who knows? It's like this whole franchise became soulless, but I'm getting ahead of myself. That's me getting triggered again. Let me go take a smoke break, and then the next game we're going to be talking about is Call of Duty Black Ops 1. Call of Duty Black Ops 1 was Treyarch's chance to step up their multiplayer to match their already amazing zombies mode, and I think that they definitely succeeded in that. Now, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 was a historic game, no doubt. As I mentioned earlier in the video, it was not perfect. The rise of hackers and challenge lobbies became a major issue, and players found countless of ways to exploit the game, whether it was noob tubing or using other broken mechanics. Modern Warfare 2 is what I would consider now beautiful chaos, but that chaos definitely had a negative impact on the overall multiplayer experience, especially towards the end of its life cycle. This was the year that Treyarch had an opportunity to establish itself as a good multiplayer competitor for Infinity Ward and to clean up the mess that Modern Warfare 2 left behind to deliver a more controlled, balanced, and smooth multiplayer experience. And yeah, like I said, I think Black Ops 1 definitely succeeded in that. Just as a player, it was while I love Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 1 was refreshing just because they got rid of a lot of the hackers that were there from Modern Warfare 2. A lot of that was filtered out. They did everything that they could to nerf things like noob tubing. They didn't get rid of the grenade launcher, but they didn't make it as powerful as it was in Modern Warfare 2. I say pretty much they got rid of all the exploitation that was going around Modern Warfare 2 by the end of its life cycle. They piggybacked off Modern Warfare 2 with the kill streaks by making more kill streaks to fit the time frame that their game was in. So yeah, we got a lot of new kill streaks that you still see now in Black Ops 1. This was also Treyarch's first experience with dropping their own camos. They had a currency system. They had a theater mode. You were able to create your own emblem. Honestly, just talking about this right now, the jump from Call of Duty World at War to Black Ops 1, the improvement that Treyarch made just within that year, does not get talked about enough. This is the game where Treyarch showed that they can compete with Infinity Ward when it comes to multiplayer. And for us players, we're just winning because we're just getting these amazing games dropping back to back every year with their own style. I repeat, their own style. Modern Warfare 2 looked nothing like Call of Duty Black Ops. A Treyarch game and an Infinity Ward game. They did not look alike. They did not feel alike. The mechanics were never the same. They both had their own style and flavor. I'm just pointing that out right now because that's something that I feel like Call of Duty games nowadays lack. But anyways, we'll talk more about that later. On top of making all these improvements and new additions to the multiplayer, Treyarch made sure that they did not slack on zombies. They took something that was already great on World at War and somehow found a way to make it greater. In my opinion, Black Ops 1 is peak zombies. That's when zombies was at its best. Anything after that, it started to become a little too much for me. That's just my personal opinion. Alright, on to the next game. We are going to go to 2011. We are talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. This was the first time in the franchise where Infinity Ward had some help and they brought Sledgehammer along. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 wasn't just Infinity Ward's chance to compete with Treyarch's Call of Duty Black Ops 1. More importantly, it was to improve on what they had already built with Modern Warfare 2. They stuck with the same engine as their previous release, and much like Black Ops, they filtered out a lot of the chaos that came with OG Modern Warfare 2. This is why even if Modern Warfare 2 isn't the best Call of Duty of all time, it's definitely the most important, because that beautiful chaos became the blueprint for every game that followed. It was the foundation. All Infinity Ward had to do here was limit the chaos exploits for a smoother multiplayer experience, and they definitely did that. At the time, my only real complaint with Modern Warfare 3 was that the sniping didn't feel as fluid as it did on Modern Warfare 2, but it did feel better than it felt on Black Ops. This was the first time I really seen Call of Duty really move backwards. It was the sniping. Because personally, I feel like sniping was perfect on Modern Warfare 2, but I feel like some people thought it was overpowered and they felt like they had to do something about it. So on Black Ops 1, they didn't completely take it away, but they slightly tweaked it. Same on Modern Warfare 3. They made sure that you could still quick scope, snipe, and all that, but they slightly tweaked it and it just wasn't as smooth as it was on Modern Warfare 2. To me, this was the first time we really saw Call of Duty move backwards because I feel like every game after they slowly got away from the perfect sniping that they had in 2009. Nonetheless, though, Modern Warfare 3, like I said, a great game. This was also the first Call of Duty game to introduce face-off modes, allowing players to go 1v1, 2v2, or 3v3, something that I wish that they kept in just every title going forward. Quick intermission. So as you can tell by now, every game that I've talked about so far has had its flaws. A common misconception when we talk about the golden age of Call of Duty is that these games were perfect, but they weren't, and we knew that they weren't. We never expected perfection. What made these games great was, despite all the BS, was the overall experience. What's something that all these games have in common? From Modern Warfare 2 to Black Ops 2, which we're going to be talking about next, all of these games use the same ping-based matchmaking system that I mentioned earlier, which I truly believe is the real reason these games felt so good despite all their flaws. It created a good multiplayer experience. On top of that, when problems did arise, the developers actually listened to their community and made changes in the next title, something that they seem to fail to do now. Next game we're going to be talking about, another game that holds a special place in my heart because this was the first Call of Duty game that I ever owned on Xbox 360. I believe in 2012, 2011, or 2012, I got my Xbox 360. I made the change from PlayStation to Xbox. I've been Xbox ever since. But anyways, the game that we're talking about, the one and only Call of Duty Black Ops 2. In my opinion, the greatest Call of Duty game of all time. Possibly one of the greatest multiplayer first-person shooter experiences of all time in general. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 was the first time the Call of Duty fan base as a whole started to agree that Treyarch may be surpassing Infinity Ward. Treyarch made a massive leap from Black Ops 1, which was already a great game in its own right. In my opinion, Black Ops 2 is where Treyarch truly established their identity. The game was colorful, it was vibrant, and wasn't trying to be the most realistic looking shooter, something that Infinity Ward clearly excelled at graphically. Instead, with Black Ops 2, I feel like Treyarch fully embraced a more arcade style and feel while making huge improvements to the core gameplay in general. This was the first time that they introduced the Pick 10 system. For those who don't know what that is, it's when you get to choose 10 elements to build your loadout. It could be from anything from weapons, attachments, to perks, grenades, giving players the complete control over their setup. For those who didn't use certain equipment like grenades, they could use their points for something else. So another perk, another attachment, or whatever you want. So yeah, this was the introduction of that. This was also the first game to introduce wild cards, the first game to introduce a diamond camo, and in my opinion, it has some of the best design maps in the franchise's history. But what made this game really special also, the combat record and leaderboard layout. Don't get me wrong, Call of Duty up to this point was already good at giving us leaderboard, giving us stats to look at, but the addition of combat records and the improvement that they made, they were the best we've ever seen. In my opinion, it should have just remained the blueprint moving forward for every Call of Duty game. But it seems like after Black Ops 2, they slowly moved away. Another example of Call of Duty moving backwards. That's the second one. First with sniping, then it's always small stuff, but they slowly start moving backwards just through the years. But what truly set Black Ops 2 apart from the previous titles was the addition of League Play, now known as Ranked Mode. In my opinion, this game had the best ranked format in Call of Duty history. It featured 4v4 objective-based modes, more like what we see today, but they also had 6v6 competitive TDM, giving players more options than we've ever had. Unlike today, where every player starts in bronze and works their way up, Black Ops 2 had placement matches. You had to play 5 games and the system determined your skill level from the start. Each division had its own bracket of players and it was always just fun to see where you place as you rank up inside of your division. The 6 divisions were Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold, Platinum, and Master. Now, despite only having 6 ranks, there was no easy path to Masters. Only the best of the best made it in, and Treyarch definitely made sure of that. Black Ops 2 was the textbook definition of a perfect ending to what we consider the golden age of Call of Duty. Unfortunately, after this release, the franchise started to experience ups and downs, and this is where I believe Call of Duty's identity crisis slowly began. What game kicked off this identity crisis? None other than Call of Duty Ghost, developed by Infinity Ward. Lately, I've actually been seeing people trying to rewrite history, claiming that this game was actually good, but as someone who was there for it, I promise you, that is not true. I disagree. Ghost was a terrible follow-up to the masterpiece that Black Ops 2 was. This didn't even feel like the typical Infinity Ward experience. I believe the main reason this game flopped so bad was because it was the first Call of Duty that was built for the Xbox One and PS4 era, the next gen at that time. Infinity Ward likely had to rebuild their system for next gen, which is why it didn't feel anything like Modern Warfare 2 or Modern Warfare 3. But it wasn't just the look and the feel of the game that didn't connect. It was the entire multiplayer experience. They tried to innovate, but strayed way too far away from their roots. Again, moving backwards. This game had no memorable maps, it had no standout weapons. The only one that you really remember is probably the honey badger. But the overall experience just felt dull and uninspired. For the first time, I found myself thinking that year maybe I could skip out on Call of Duty. I'd really list what Ghost did well, but honestly it didn't bring anything new to the table. This was the first time I can confidently say the franchise had a downgrade. The next game we're going to be talking about is Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, made by Sledgehammer Games. Now, I will give credit and say Advanced Warfare was a big improvement over Call of Duty Ghosts, but let's be honest, the bar was not set too high at all. With this game, Sledgehammer took a huge leap of faith, moving away from the traditional boots-on-ground gameplay that had defined Call of Duty up to this point. Instead, they pushed the franchise into the future, and honestly, I wouldn't even say Advanced Warfare was necessarily bad, but it wasn't great either. When it first came out, I had mixed feelings in general, just about Call of Duty going futuristic, but for their first attempt, I'd say they did okay. Very, very heavy emphasis on the okay, because I've seen people trying to rewrite history with this game too, claiming we need a second version of this game, and honestly I just don't think so. Advanced Warfare was average at best, and at no point ever when I was playing that game did I ever say to myself, man, we really need a sequel to this. No. Literally not one time did I think that to myself, and I promise you it was not a conversation when the game was actually out. The problem is Call of Duty is just so bad now, people are just revisiting the average stuff because they just want to get back to average at least. They're saying we need another Advanced Warfare. That is crazy. But yeah, with this game, you could really start to see Call of Duty's identity crisis taking effect. The franchise just started to move further and further away from what had originally made it great. Once again, this game had no memorable maps, a lackluster rank mode, and no standout weapons, continuing this trend from Ghosts, second year straight. I do have to give Sledgehammer a little bit of credit for trying to do something new while still attempting to keep some of Call of Duty's roots in the mix, but honestly I would have loved to see Sledgehammer make their debut game with the boots on ground title. That way some of the classic elements that they tried to reintroduce could have shined a little bit more. So unfortunately, Advanced Warfare becomes another setback for the franchise because it kept Call of Duty in this future direction for 2 more years. While I wouldn't say it was a step backwards, it felt more like a series that was starting over, experimenting with something that they never seemed like they were even going to be committed to long term. A franchise that had been literally unstoppable in its first 6 titles was now struggling to rediscover its identity in the next gen era. And then came along the next game we're going to be talking about. That is Call of Duty Black Ops 3. So it was finally Treyarch's time to shine in Call of Duty's new little futuristic era they had going on. I give them credit because obviously they had more experience and the foundation was pretty much already laid out, the direction they were going in Black Ops 2. So they definitely completely outshined Sledgehammer's attempt with Advanced Warfare. Yeah, that's another reason why I'd be confused when people say they want Advanced Warfare 2. It wasn't even the best futuristic COD in the series, so why would that get a number 2? Yeah, I don't know, I'm hating, but let me get back to it. Treyarch definitely executed the boots off ground movement far better than Advanced Warfare, and they stayed true to their core gameplay established in Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2. Alright, so some people call Black Ops 3 the best Call of Duty of all time, but I disagree, but let me tell you why. If this game had the traditional boots on ground style gameplay that we know from Call of Duty for so long, it might have been in the same conversation as Black Ops 2. It might have been better than Black Ops 2. It probably would have been. And I'm not just saying this because that's the style that I prefer. It's because Call of Duty never really had a plan to commit to this futuristic movement long term. I remember at that time people were kind of over it. They lost a lot of players. Treyarch did perfect the futuristic style better than any other studio did in this time, but imagine if they just focused purely on their traditional style with Black Ops 3 instead. Black Ops 3 was Treyarch going all in on their identity. Black Ops 2 had already pushed the franchise forward towards a more arcade-ish, colorful feel. Black Ops 3 perfected it, with vibrant maps, unique weapon designs, and the overall style. I understand why some considered it the best COD, but as someone who's been here since the beginning, I see it as the best futuristic COD, nothing more. It simply just doesn't compare to Black Ops 2 or Modern Warfare 2 to me. Like, if you lined up every Call of Duty player, of course, use your imagination and ask whether they rather see a remaster of Black Ops 3, Black Ops 2, or Modern Warfare 2, I guarantee you the majority are gonna say Modern Warfare 2 or Black Ops 2, and that's largely because Black Ops 3 was boots off ground. It's not just a personal preference, it's because Call of Duty lost a lot of fans the moment Advanced Warfare introduced them jetpacks. Many of those fans that they lost, they never returned for Black Ops 3 once they saw it was the same style. Numbers don't lie. Let's just get to the numbers. I'm a numbers man. Black Ops 3 sold 26 million copies. Black Ops 2 sold 29.6 million copies. That is crazy for the disc era. Modern Warfare 2 sold 22 million copies in the disc era, and that was only Infinity Ward's second game. So yeah, Black Ops 3 was supposed to outsell Modern Warfare 2 easily because the franchise had already made its name by then. Yet, Modern Warfare 2 still reached 22 million in sales with just one prior title before from its developers, and that says a lot. I cannot say Black Ops 3 is a better game than Black Ops 2 if Black Ops 3 did not outsell Black Ops 2, because there's no reason Black Ops 3 should not have outsold Black Ops 2. The only reason I could think of why I didn't is because it was a boots off ground game. I think if it was a boots on ground traditional Call of Duty, Black Ops 3 easily outsells Black Ops 2. But yeah, to wrap this up, Black Ops 3 was a glimmer of hope after a few rough years of Call of Duty. It was a good game, but it only felt great because it followed two bad ones. Black Ops 2, on the other hand, was built during COD's prime and became the defining game of the golden era. While Treyarch delivered a solid experience, they didn't make the same leap that they did from World at War to Black Ops 1 or from Black Ops 1 to Black Ops 2. Alright, the last game in this futuristic era finally. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. I don't really have much to say about this game. This was Infinity Ward's attempt at making a futuristic Call of Duty, but in reality, they pretty much just replicated what Black Ops 3 already had did. The problem is, I don't know many people who actually played this game, including myself, mostly because Infinity Ward released alongside Call of Duty 4 Remastered. And honestly, that decision was always interesting to me. It almost felt like the franchise's way of quietly saying goodbye to this little boots off ground era they had going on. They literally re-released their classic game alongside their futuristic game in a time where people were already tired of jetpacks. It was obvious they were trying to gravitate players towards, the traditional style again. Honestly, I always considered this like a dead year of Call of Duty. The real question was, would Call of Duty's return to the traditional style the following year be enough to pull the series out of this identity crisis? One thing was for sure, by releasing COD 4 Remastered alongside this game, Infinity Ward put a lot of pressure on whatever came next. And what was next? Honestly, low-key, a good Call of Duty. Call of Duty World War II. Sledgehammer's, I think, their first attempt at a World War II game. Honestly, World War II was really the last time I remembered enjoying playing Call of Duty. I wouldn't call it a great game, but I will say that Sledgehammer made a solid attempt to bring us back into the boots on ground era. It played well, but something about it just felt kind of off. I think that Sledgehammer should have taken notes from Treyarch and leaned more into the arcade style experience. Instead, they tried to replicate the grittier and more realistic visual style of World at War when it came to a World War II game, which made it struggle to establish its own identity. On top of that, they replaced the traditional class system with those divisions, which was, in my opinion, a huge mistake. This was their shot at being the first studio to bring COD back to its roots, but instead of keeping it simple and familiar, they introduced an unnecessary system that just didn't add much to the experience. Overall, the game felt experimental, honestly. It was fun at times, but it didn't push the series forward in any meaningful way. Compared to the first 6 iconic Call of Duty titles, World War II barely even moved the needle. Call of Duty continued to struggle with its identity, and this was just another example of that. And here we are. 2018. In my opinion, 2018, the present time, 2025, is the death of Call of Duty. And it starts with this next game we're going to be talking about, Call of Duty Black Ops 4. You think Treyarch would have exceeded their expectations with their first game returning back to the traditional style, but instead they completely flopped. They dropped the ball. I don't care what anybody says, delivering one of the most forgettable Call of Duty titles of all time. They didn't even include a campaign mode. The game was full of bugs and consistent crashes. That's really all I remember from this game. The multiplayer just didn't evolve or give us that signature Treyarch feel that we were expecting like we got in Black Ops 3. Even though it was a futuristic game, it still gave us that traditional Treyarch cartoon arcadish style. But the real reason I said that this was the start of the death of Call of Duty was because this was Call of Duty's first attempt at entering that Battle Royale space. Fortnite wave took over, and Call of Duty tried to ride the wave. Now let's be clear, this video has mainly been about the downfall of Call of Duty's regular multiplayer. I truly believe that Blackout was the moment multiplayer started to decline. Instead of focusing on the core experience, Treyarch shifted their attention toward the Battle Royale, because that's what was popular at that time, leaving us multiplayer fans with a lackluster half-finished game, which is really what they've just been doing for the last however many years since 2018 up until now. Instead of continuing to innovate within their own identity, Call of Duty started to follow trends. A lot of people will point to Modern Warfare 2019 as the moment Call of Duty started to fall off, but I always include Black Ops 4 in there in 2018. 2018 was the year that the Call of Duty, once the blueprint for all first-person shooters around the world, stopped leading the industry and started following the wave. And that was the beginning of the death of Call of Duty. Now we're in 2019. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about this Modern Warfare 2019 by itself, but for the most part, I'm going to be talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 up until Black Ops 6 as a collective, because to me, all of these games play a part inside the death of Call of Duty equally. Now, I will admit, I was excited for Modern Warfare 2019. It's part of that manipulation because they brought back that Modern Warfare title. That alone had me and a lot of other COD players feeling like Call of Duty is finally going to be back, especially after the disaster that Black Ops 4 was. A lot of us just couldn't wait to see what Infinity War had in store. And at first, I really did enjoy the game, but then I started to notice that something is off. It didn't take me that long to notice. My experience felt tampered with and even predictable. When I queued up by myself, I have a few games where I felt unstoppable, and then suddenly I struggled to even land my shots in following games. I'd be playing with certain friend groups, I would feel unstoppable, but when I went back to play by myself, it felt like I was playing a whole different game. As someone who had been playing Call of Duty my entire life at that point, I knew something had changed, and sure enough, I was right. This was the year that Call of Duty ruined itself with engagement-optimized matchmaking. They abandoned the traditional ping-based matchmaking that balanced team by skill once the lobby was created, the system that made Call of Duty an elite casual FPS for years, and instead they introduced a matchmaking system designed to manipulate your experience. Fast forward to 2025 and here we are with Black Ops 6. Call of Duty has become the most predictable and manufactured experience, and it's the reason I finally had to decide to step away. The games are literally manipulated and there's plenty of evidence out there, just go do your own research. What made those first 6 Call of Duty titles so great wasn't just the features, it was that matchmaking system. That's why I kept mentioning it earlier at the beginning of the video. You were able to just get on the game, squad up with your friends, go on a crazy win streak. Eventually, you're going to run into better players and get humbled, get a feel for where you're really at. The game rewarded skill without punishing you for it. When you wanted to really put your skill to the test, you would just go play rank play. You should not be having your skill constantly put to test inside of a casual public mode. It's never made sense. It's never been a good idea. If you win too much in these last 6 Call of Duties that came out, you're literally punished. The game goes out of its way to make sure that every player is on an even playing field, not by encouraging improvement, but by manipulating lobbies to create artificial highs and lows. It's literally been 6 years, and I promise you, a lot of players don't even know how good they actually are at Call of Duty anymore because of this engagement optimized matchmaking system. You probably have a friend who's a god in his own lobbies, but the second he joins your squad, he struggles, or vice versa. You might be a god in your lobbies, but the second you play with a certain group of friends, you're struggling. There's no consistency, no natural learning curve, just a constant cycle of forced wins and forced losses. But why did Call of Duty really make this change? I mentioned it earlier. Chasing this battle royale trend. Instead of refining multiplayer, they prioritize the free-to-play mode that catered to casuals. Weapons are now designed for Warzone first, leaving multiplayer as nothing more than a grind fest for camos, literally. Call of Duty, the franchise that set the blueprint for first-person shooter games, abandoned what made it great just to ride a temporary wave. And now, here in 2025, we're seeing the long-term effects of that choice as the Warzone 2 numbers continue to plummet. So you ask, why did I finally give up on Call of Duty? I kept buying Call of Duty year after year, hoping that they would find their way back. Modern Warfare 2019, Black Ops Cold War, Vanguard, Modern Warfare 2 2022, Modern Warfare 3 2023, Black Ops 6. On each of those games, I hope that the franchise turned back to its roots, and each time I was let down. I'm done being let down. I feel like one of the worst things about Call of Duty that's not talked about enough nowadays is they still have 3 different developers, Treyarch, Infinity Ward, and Sledgehammer. Don't get me wrong, these are not the same people that made the games in the golden age. A lot of those people are retired. But I just feel like you don't feel a distinct difference anymore between each developer. Every game feels like it's built on the same engine with the same mechanics and the same soulless design choices. Black Ops 6 was supposed to bring back Treyarch's vibrant, colorful style. Instead, it looks like another Modern Warfare game with the filters slapped on it. Call of Duty has officially lost its soul. Now, Activision did come out and finally talk about their matchmaking system after they were pretty much forced to because so much people caught on, but their excuse was that the data shows that it works this way. But how can you say that something works when the players who didn't even start playing Call of Duty until 2019 don't know any different? They've never experienced real Call of Duty with ping-based matchmaking and lobby skill-based matchmaking. Let's just be honest, when Activision says that the data shows it works, it means that it's benefiting them financially. If you protect your bad players and make them feel like they're good, they're more likely to buy battle passes and make microtransactions. Meanwhile, longtime players, those of us who built this franchise, are punished for being slightly skilled with constant harder lobbies, feeling like we're playing ranked inside public mode. Why does public matchmaking feel sweatier than ranked? Why does ranked mode feel more casual than pubs? Somebody answer that question for me. It's been like that for 6 years. I've been here for it. It's not just the matchmaking though. The franchise alone has had a complete death of innovation. Call of Duty has no more memorable maps. They've been recycling Nuketown, Shipment, and Shoot House for years. Nuketown and Shipment are well over 10 years old, and yet they are still being brought back every year because, let's be honest, they haven't made any good maps since Black Ops 3. And they can't bring back any maps from Black Ops 3 because that was when they were committed to this thing that they were never going to be committed to, and those maps are catered for boots off ground gameplay. Let's not forget, weapon loadouts are bloated, too many attachments, too many unnecessary options, illusion of choice. The first 6 Call of Duty games were great because they gave us choice without overcomplicating it. Now it's just an illusion of choice, all while your experience is still being manipulated behind the scenes. Even pro players are speaking out about how bad the matchmaking is. That's how you know it's real. I should be able to go casually grind for camos or experiment with weapons without feeling like I'm being thrown into CDL lobbies just because I have a few good games. And ironically, this matchmaking system works against what Activision actually wants. That's the crazy thing. Sorry, I got back to talking about the matchmaking here, but yeah. It works against what they actually want because if every match is a sweat fest, I'm not going to experiment with different guns. I'm just going to stick to what my best class is. If anything, this limits engagement instead of increasing it. But yeah, to conclude this video, I'm just going to say it. Call of Duty is done. I no longer have faith in my childhood franchise making any type of comeback. For 6 years, big creators, millions of players, pro players at that, have complained about this same issue. Activision has ignored us. The only reason they have finally acknowledged skill-based matchmaking, aka engagement optimized matchmaking, was because they were forced to. And even then, their response was nothing but corporate damage control, trying to justify why it works without actually listening to their community, something that they used to do that they seem to fail to do for the last 6 years. In 2007, Call of Duty made its mark, becoming a legendary first-person shooter franchise and also the blueprint for games going forward in this genre. Since 2019 up until now, 2025, when I'm making this video, Call of Duty has just become a yearly re-release of the same soulless experience designed not for fun, but for profit. The franchise that once led the FPS genre has fully transformed into a hollow cash grab, and that's why after all these years, I'm done. Rest in peace, Call of Duty. They're trying to push up on us. Come on, y'all. Ain't finna let them do that. Come on. I'm goated. One more balcony, one more balcony. Got the flanker. See one balcony.
Got balcony. Come on, push in. Balcony's dead. One more balcony. He's about to go to the right side. Got him. Nice. Ah, 2. This wasn't even my best play. Oh wait, yeah, it was.